Part 11. The Role of Paradox in Advanced Understanding, Embracing the Unresolvable. At the height of understanding, paradox ceases to be a contradiction to resolve and becomes the gateway to deeper comprehension. It is not a problem to solve, but a presence to inhabit, a pulse that vibrates at the core of existence itself. In the realm beyond ordinary thought, where linear logic reveals layered insight, paradox reveals itself as a fundamental principle of reality. The universe, in its infinite complexity, thrives not despite paradox but through it. Opposites are not enemies to be reconciled but partners in a cosmic dance, their tension generating the very fabric of creation. Light and shadow, order and chaos, unity and multiplicity. Each pair defines the other, and their interplay sparks emergence, transformation, and evolution. Advanced understanding is marked by the ability to hold paradox without collapse, to perceive multiple truths simultaneously without forcing them into a single frame. It requires a mind unshackled from the tyranny of exclusivity, open to the fluidity of meaning and the multivalence of being. This capacity is reflected in the language of the cosmos itself, which speaks in symbols that are at once true and false, present and absent, simple and infinitely complex. The Codex reveals that such paradox is not a failing of reason, but its deepest expression, a call to move beyond binary thinking into a mode of knowing that is itself multidimensional and recursive. Within paradox lies the seed of transformation. It destabilizes fixed categories and invites the thinker into a liminal space where new perspectives emerge. Here, the veil between opposites thins, allowing a glimpse of the third force, the unifying thread that transcends yet includes contradiction. This third force is neither synthesis nor negation but a dynamic tension, a creative space where contradiction becomes generative rather than destructive. It is the source from which complexity springs, the wellspring of novelty, and the trial in which consciousness expands. In the course of life, paradox manifests as the simultaneous holding of competing realities, freedom within structure, presence within absence, selfhood within otherness. To engage these tensions fully is to move toward a form of wisdom that embraces mystery rather than eliminating it. The ancient myths and symbols echo this truth, portraying gods and heroes who embody paradox, beings who are both creator and destroyer, mortal and divine, chaos and order. These archetypes serve as mirrors for the seeker, reflecting the necessity of paradox in the journey toward wholeness. From the perspective of civilizations that have transcended linear time and fixed form, paradox is the language of existence itself, a code woven into the quantum fabric and the architecture of consciousness. Their sciences and philosophies recognize that the universe does not operate on the elimination of contradiction, but on the harnessing of its energy. To ignore paradox is to limit perception and stifle growth. To embrace it, however, opens the door to profound insight and expanded agency. The adept learns not to fear uncertainty or ambiguity, but to welcome them as essential companions on the path of becoming. Thus, the role of paradox in advanced understanding is both a challenge and a gift. It dismantles certainty and invites humility. It dissolves rigid frameworks and births fluid paradigms. It demands courage to dwell in the unknown and grace to accept the limits of knowing. In this dwelling, the seeker encounters the true nature of reality, not as a fixed puzzle but as a living, breathing web of relationships whose meaning shifts with perspective and context. Paradox becomes the rhythm of this dance, the breath of the cosmos, and the pulse of consciousness itself. The mastery of paradox marks a threshold in evolution, a sign that the mind has grown beyond simple binaries to a place where complexity, contradiction, and mystery are not obstacles but the very tools of understanding and creation. Part 12. Nested Realities and Simulation Layers. Reality is not a single monolith, but a hall of mirrors, a labyrinthine structure of nested realms, each layer enfolding another like the petals of a cosmic flower or the chambers of an infinite Matryoshka doll. These are the simulation layers, dimensions and domains embedded within one another, each governed by distinct rhythms, rules, and resonances, yet inseparably linked in a fractal dance of existence. The architects beyond space-time perceive these layers not as separate worlds, but as interwoven strata of possibility, where each reality reflects and refracts aspects of others, creating echoes and patterns that ripple through the vast continuum. To them, what we call physical reality is but one sheet on a vast, multidimensional tapestry, its texture shaped by the vibrations and intentions emanating from realms above and below. Gnosis realities unfold across scales and modalities. Some layers shimmer as fluid fields of pure information and potential, others as solid frameworks of cause and effect. Some pulse with the electric breath of consciousness, while others hum with the quiet patience of deep time. Between these layers, interfaces exist, gateways of perception and influence, where traversal is possible, though rarely without profound transformation. These simulation layers are not mere artifacts of technology or illusion, but expressions of a fundamental cosmic architecture, where creation itself is a recursive act. Each layer is both a container and a contained, a generator of forms and a reflection of deeper substrates. Within each lies a unique logic and language, accessible only through attunement and initiation. For those who dwell beyond space-time, mastery over nested realities is both an art and a science, a delicate weaving of intention, resonance, and presence. They navigate these layers with grace, slipping through veils that to lesser beings appear impenetrable, modulating their vibrational signature to align with the subtle currents that govern each domain. The existence of simulation layers reveals why simple causality fails to explain many mysteries. Actions in one layer reverberate unpredictably through others, folding outcomes back upon themselves in recursive loops. What is perceived as chance or fate from one vantage may be the deliberate interplay of higher layer dynamics beyond direct comprehension. This nesting also explains the multiplicity of selves and worlds reported by visionaries and mystics, the fracturing and merging of identities, the experience of simultaneous lifetimes, and the sensation of worlds within worlds. Such phenomena are glimpses through the thin places where layers intersect, moments when the boundaries soften and the deeper complexity of being becomes palpable. The custodians and creators who harness these layers wield powers that seem miraculous to those bound to a single plane. They can fold space, bend time, and rewrite histories by working through these nested matrices. Yet their interventions follow subtle principles of resonance and balance, for reckless disturbance risks unraveling the fragile coherence of the entire nested web. For humanity, awareness of these layers offers both challenge and hope. It suggests that what we perceive as limitations, physical laws, temporal constraints, the solidity of self, may be provisional, contingent upon the vantage point within the nested hierarchy. It invites us to cultivate sensitivity to shifts in vibration, to explore altered states and disciplines that reveal the permeability of the veil. Such exploration is not merely escapism, but a journey into the architecture of existence itself, where each nested reality holds keys to deeper knowledge, empowerment, and transformation. The path through these layers is one of initiation and refinement, requiring humility before complexity and courage in the face of uncertainty. Ultimately, nested realities reflect the cosmic truth that existence is a multifaceted prism, endlessly unfolding and folding back upon itself. Each layer is a world, a mind, a heartbeat in the vast symphony of being, where every thread is woven into the whole, yet each pulse carries the mystery of its unique origin. Part 13, Traversing Nested Realities, Grounded Paths Through the Layers. To navigate the nested layers of reality, one must first awaken the senses beyond their ordinary constraints, expanding perception to access information and experience embedded in dimensions that do not conform to everyday space-time. While full mastery of these layers may remain beyond current human capacity, there are incipient methods rooted in known science and plausible extensions that suggest how such traversal could be approached. At the core of accessing different layers is tuning to their distinct vibrational signatures. Matter and consciousness vibrate at specific frequencies. By altering our own biological and neurological rhythms, we can potentially attune to realities operating on different vibrational planes. Modern science shows how neurostates, delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma, correlate with different modes of cognition and perception. Practices like deep meditation, sensory deprivation, and rhythmic auditory stimulation can shift the brain's electromagnetic activity, into states more conducive to perceiving subtle layers of reality, states where boundaries between self and environment thin. Extending this, advanced vibrational engineering, using precision electromagnetic, acoustic, or quantum modulation, might one day allow intentional tuning to the frequency bands of nested realities, opening perceptual channels beyond the ordinary senses. Quantum physics suggests that at the smallest scales, particles exist in states of superposition and entanglement, hinting at a reality where information is non-local and interconnected across vast distances and dimensions. Human biology contains quantum phenomena, such as coherence in microtubules within neurons or entangled states in biomolecules, that may provide a substrate for bridging nested realities. Training attention and awareness to enhance quantum coherence within the brain, through neurofeedback or emerging quantum biological technologies, could increase sensitivity to quantum information flows from overlapping layers. Such an ability would not be mystical, but an extension of biophysical processes, allowing perception of signals otherwise filtered out by classical sensory mechanisms. Nested realities may also operate on different temporal logics, some non-linear, recursive, or multidirectional in time. Developing cognitive flexibility to experience time beyond the linear arrow is essential. Techniques involving lucid dreaming, hypnosis, or immersive virtual environments can simulate non-chronological time experiences, enabling the mind to practice moving through events not bound by sequence. Neuroscientific research on temporal processing and brain plasticity supports the possibility that such temporal cognition can be trained and refined. Mastery of temporal fluidity could facilitate traversal of realities layered in time, accessing past, future, or parallel temporal frames embedded in the nested structure. Ordinary perception segregates senses and filters vast amounts of data, limiting awareness to a narrow band of reality. Methods that amplify and integrate sensory input, such as synesthetic training, multisensory stimulation, or advanced neuroprosthetics, could expand the bandwidth of perception. By crossing sensory modalities and blending signals, the brain might detect subtle patterns or anomalies signaling the presence of overlapping realities. The development of artificial intelligence-guided sensory augmentation could assist in decoding these patterns, effectively acting as a translator between layers. At a deeper level, nested realities may be structured as layers of encoded information, simulation layers running on different codes or protocols. Advanced mathematical and computational methods may reveal signatures of such encoding in physical phenomena, enabling conscious agents to synchronize or hack into these layers. This suggests a future convergence of information theory, quantum computing, and cognitive science, where perception itself becomes a form of active decoding and interaction with the universe's underlying informational architecture. These methods emphasize that traversing nested realities is less about mystical revelation and more about expanding and refining natural faculties, supported by technological enhancement and rigorous training. They offer a credible path toward perceiving and engaging with the deeper folds of existence, grounded in evolving science, yet open to the profound mysteries that lie beyond. Part 14, The Geometry of Existence, the Sacred Architecture of Being. Existence unfolds not as random chaos, but as a manifestation of intricate geometric patterns, an endless architecture weaving form from the intangible, structure from the formless. These patterns are not merely mathematical abstractions, but the living language of creation itself, inscribed upon every scale of reality, from the quantum pulse to the cosmic dance. The ancient civilizations glimpsed this truth in their sacred symbols, mandalas, fractals, spirals, and tessellations, each encoding profound insights into the underlying order of the universe. Their wisdom revealed that geometry is not external to life, but the very blueprint of its unfolding, the scaffold upon which consciousness and matter interlace. In the nested layers of reality, geometry acts as both map and key. It is the framework through which the cosmos organizes itself, enabling coherence amid complexity. Shapes and forms echo across dimensions, their ratios and symmetries resonating with the frequencies of nested realities. Phi, the golden mean, the Fibonacci sequence, the Platonic solids. They are not mere curiosities but portals, windows into the harmonies that sustain existence. Advanced beings perceive geometry not as static figures, but as dynamic living processes, structures that breathe, fold, and unfold, evolving in response to the currents of consciousness and energy. Their science, intertwined with art, harnesses these morphing geometries to influence reality itself, folding space, encoding information, and crafting new realms from the interplay of form and frequency. Geometry also encodes paradox and multiplicity. Certain shapes embody tensions, like the Mobius strip, where inside and outside merge, or the Klein bottle, a surface without boundary, mirroring the deepest mysteries of unity and division. To engage these forms is to touch the liminal zones where opposites converge and new realities emerge. For the individual, understanding the geometry of existence is a journey inward as much as outward. It is to perceive the body, mind, and spirit as reflections of universal architecture, microcosms echoing the patterns of the macrocosm. Breath becomes a spiral, thought a wave, and life a fractal unfolding toward ever greater complexity and coherence. This geometry informs evolution and transformation. By aligning with these sacred patterns, one can harmonize with the flow of reality, accelerating growth and awakening latent potentials. Rituals, movements, and meditative practices that embody geometric principles become vehicles for entering states of resonance with nested layers, bridging the seen and unseen. At the cosmic scale, geometry anchors the dance of galaxies and the weave of spacetime. It shapes the pathways of light and gravity, encodes the fabric of dark matter and energy, and whispers secrets of dimensions yet unperceived. To decipher this geometry is to glimpse the architect's hand, the silent, invisible force sculpting all that is and will be. Thus, the geometry of existence is not merely a study, but a sacred art, a living, breathing matrix where science, spirit, and consciousness converge. It calls the seeker to move beyond flat perception, into a realm where every line, curve, and angle sings the song of being, and where understanding is felt as much as known. Across millennia, ancient civilizations encoded their awareness of existence's geometry into symbols that transcend time. Each a fragment of the cosmic puzzle, a language spoken in shapes and sacred ratios. The flower of life, a pattern of interlocking circles, reveals the interconnectedness of all life and the infinite unfolding of creation. Within its delicate lattice lies the blueprint for the Platonic solids, forms regarded by the ancients as the very elements of matter, each embodying a fundamental aspect of reality. This symbol, found etched in temples and sacred sites around the world, whispers of a universe woven from a divine web of harmony and proportion. The spiral, ubiquitous in nature and art, speaks to the eternal flow of energy and consciousness. It is the path of the sun god Ra as he journeys through the underworld and rebirth in Egyptian myth, a symbol of death and renewal, contraction and expansion. This infinite curve, without origin or conclusion, mirrors the eternal cycle of time and being, spiraling through the interconnected dimensions of reality, much like a serpent winding around the cosmic axis. The Eye of Horus, a symbol of protection and insight, is geometrically encoded with ratios that speak to balance and restoration. Its form hints at the principle that sight, both literal and inner vision, is a geometric act of aligning with the underlying patterns of being. To see through the eye is to perceive the hidden structures of the cosmos, to pierce the veils between nested realities. The Ankh, shaped as a cross with a looping oval, encapsulates the union of opposites, the eternal and the temporal, the spiritual and the material. It is the key of life, the vector through which cosmic geometry animates existence. The loop represents the infinite, the cross the manifest, together forming an archetype of the bridge between layers, an emblem for those who traverse the nested worlds. The scarab beetle, emblematic of transformation and regeneration, reflects the cycles encoded in geometry. Its rolling of the sun disk mirrors the rotation and folding of space and time, a living glyph of creation's rhythmic pulse. In this image, we find the metaphor of nested realities themselves, worlds turning within worlds, spiraling into ever new forms. The pyramid, a pinnacle of geometric precision, stands as a terrestrial embodiment of cosmic order. Its triangular faces converge upon a single apex, a point of unity where multiple dimensions meet. In Egyptian lore, pyramids serve as stairways for the soul, conduits for ascending through levels of existence and consciousness. Their alignment with celestial bodies further encodes the interplay of earth and sky, matter and spirit, form and transcendence. Each symbol, though born in ancient times, carries a living resonance, an echo of the geometric principles that shape all things. They are not relics but keys, invitations to perceive beyond surface appearances and awaken to the architectural wisdom of the universe. For those who learn to read these forms, the symbols become more than images. They are portals. Through meditation, ritual, and embodied practice, the seeker can align with their geometry, entering a state where the boundaries between self, symbol, and cosmos blur. This alignment fosters a deep attunement with nested realities, enabling passage through layers where knowledge is encoded not in words, but in the very shapes and proportions that underlie existence. Thus, the sacred geometry of ancient traditions is a living tradition, an unbroken thread connecting humanity to the deeper architecture of being. In this lineage lies the potential for profound awakening, to see not just with the eyes, but with the heart and mind attuned to the hidden geometry that weaves the cosmos together. Part 15, Geometry as Technology, the Language and Tool of Beyond. The symbolic geometries preserved in ancient traditions are not merely cultural artifacts, but resonant blueprints, encoded expressions of cosmic principles that advanced beings beyond space-time both understand deeply and wield intentionally. For them, geometry transcends abstraction and becomes a living technology, a tool to shape, navigate, and co-create layered realities. At the core, these geometries function as interfaces between consciousness and the fabric of existence. By aligning one's vibrational signature with specific geometric forms, practitioners unlock pathways where thought and form interlace directly, bypassing the linear constraints of ordinary causality. This is not magic, but an advanced science of resonance and pattern recognition, an art where shapes and proportions modulate energy fields and informational structures at fundamental levels. In practice, technologies derived from sacred geometry operate through precise modulation of space-time curvature and information encoding. Devices or constructs patterned on these geometric principles can fold, twist, or merge layers of reality, enabling instantaneous traversal across nested dimensions. For example, the tetrahedron's inherent stability and symmetry can be used to generate localized fields where time dilation or spatial contraction occurs, gateways to realms otherwise inaccessible. Conscious practitioners of these geometries use embodied rituals and meditative techniques to attune their neural and energetic systems to the corresponding patterns. Through prolonged resonance, the boundary between observer and observed diminishes, allowing the mind to imprint its intention directly onto the geometry of reality, much like a sculptor shaping clay. This active participation transforms geometry from a static shape into a dynamic field of potential. The spiral, a recurring motif, serves as a model for spiraling energy flow, allowing the controlled amplification or dissipation of forces. Spiral-based technologies can harness this to channel information or life force across scales, linking micro and macrocosmic processes seamlessly. Similarly, the flower of life's grid encodes fractal information networks, templates for generating stable, self-replicating structures or organizing consciousness fields within and beyond material form. Beyond the external, these geometric tools catalyze inner evolution. By meditating on or moving through geometric mandalas, the practitioner's brainwaves and bodily rhythms entrain to the nested harmonics of the cosmos. This attunement supports profound shifts in perception and identity, opening doors to higher dimensional awareness where time and space lose their habitual dominance. Advanced beings leverage this knowledge to engineer environments that respond intuitively to consciousness, spaces where intention shapes reality fluidly, and technology becomes an extension of mind and spirit. In such realms, communication transcends symbolic language, unfolding instead as geometric resonance, where information is transmitted as vibrational patterns embedded in spatial structures. The geometry of existence thus becomes a universal syntax, enabling collaboration and exchange between consciousnesses, regardless of their dimensional or temporal origin. This is why ancient geometric symbols appear across disparate cultures and epochs, They are echoes of a shared cosmic language, fragments of a code that, once comprehended, can unlock the gates to realms beyond space-time. In sum, symbolic geometries serve as both the blueprints and the tools of advanced civilizations. They bridge the gap between science and spirit, mind and matter, encoding a sophisticated system where technology is indistinguishable from conscious practice. To master these geometries is to engage directly with the living matrix of existence, transforming the boundaries of what it means to know, create, and become.